NSYNC versus Backstreet Boys, remembering the 90s boy band rivalry. Grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's go back. Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Gen X Unfiltered, the podcast.
What's up, everybody?
Hey.
Hello. Today,
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Today we are talking about a topic close to my heart. You guys may not think so yourselves, but for me,
This is
very nostalgic.
Definitely geared to you.
Yeah, this is all you. Enjoy.
Today we are talking about the boy band rivalry of the 90s. I know I just said the title, but guys, who are these two boy bands?
Menudo?
That was like the 80s.
Oh, sorry.
So we're talking about the two big ones, right?
The two big ones from the
NSYNC
early, yes.
and the Backstreet Boys.
The Backstreet
Right.
Boys. I think that out there, if you were a fan of any of these boy bands, you are either a strong Backstreet Boys supporter or a strong NSYNC supporter. I feel like there's no in-betweenies.
You couldn't float between
seemed
teams?
Like
I mean, you could enjoy other songs from the other group, but
Yeah.
like you didn't have NSYNC posters and Backstreet Boy posters up. I mean, I'm sure some of you did, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, I feel like...
from what I remember, it definitely seemed like people were
Yeah.
NSYNC
Oh,
or
wow.
Backstreet Boys.
It's kind of like the people who are like Apple versus Windows people.
So this is a very polarizing topic.
It is.
Apple versus Android, I think you're talking, right?
That's what I meant. So I don't know.
Yeah, I
what was.
gotcha.
Nobody cares about Windows anymore. Microsoft's lost.
Windows phones, goodbye.
I was hoping nobody would notice I said that. But
Not on this channel.
before we even get into the whole little like nitty gritty of the betrayal, the seduction, and the
Whoa,
What?
controversy,
Oh, boy.
what is going on? Is it like a Zalman King movie?
let's talk about exactly what defines a boy band. According to Wikipedia, this is what defines a boy band.
Okay.
A boy band, loosely defined, as a vocal group consisting of young male singers, usually in their teenage years or in early 20s at the time of formation. Generally, boy bands perform love songs marketed towards girls and young women. Many boy bands dance as well as sing, usually giving highly choreographed performances.
That seems like a
Wow.
solid description of a boy band.
Double threats.
Also, one of the big things is some boy bands are formed on their own, but most are created by talent managers or record producers who hold auditions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's kind of the biggest difference.
I think it's one of the big critiques of the boy bands is they're like manufactured.
Yeah,
They're
That's
not-
right.
Like bubblegum pop.
Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, they're all
Yeah.
hand selected, and
They're not, or again, a group of friends that come together to make music.
No, I mean, yeah, you know.
there's not a lot of young. I know, I remember as a kid wanting to start playing the guitar, wanting to start a band, but
Yeah.
I don't know anyone that was like, I'm gonna start a boy band.
Maybe you should have.
Now,
Maybe that was
That
an
was-
untapped market.
You could have been like Steve from NSYNC.
you could have been so many things.
I know.
Ah.
Another missed opportunity.
I have lots of notes here, guys, because I want to make sure we have our facts straight of dates and timelines and
Yeah.
blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
No, 100%.
But when I was doing some research, I found this really great article that kind of summed up this whole rivalry in like way more concise than I could have.
Okay.
So this was an article by Tierney Breaker, June 9th, 2021, and it was an E-News article. So I'm going to be referencing that mostly just
Okay.
because it gives a lot of the facts and like, again, the timeline that would have taken me 8 hours to put together.
Yep.
No, that sounds good because
So
I know nothing about other than the band's names and some songs.
So thank you, Tierney Breaker.
I'm hoping by the end of this podcast, I will be firmly in the NSYNC or Backstreet Boys camp.
Well, that's the thing.
Before we're done, you have to pick a camp.
Okay,
And that's it.
but wait, before we start though, like, okay, I know, I get it. It may not have been your most popular genre of music to listen to in the early 90s, but if you had to pick based on your limited knowledge of what you may or may not have listened to, who would you say at the time you would have thought was better?
I always thought the Backstreet Boys were the bigger band.
Okay, what about you?
I don't know. I guess Backstreet Boys. I don't know. I had like an annoyance with Justin Timberlake. I thought he was a super annoying guy. So
Okay, but you have to remember, back then Justin Timberlake wasn't who he is now, right? He was like basically
I find him
unknown.
annoying now, to be honest.
No, that's what I mean. So I'm saying now you can't really judge him based back then because he wasn't really who he is now, you know?
Yeah. Well. Anyways,
No, that's fine.
my answer is Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Backstreet Boys simply just because they obviously were quote unquote discovered first, so they were sort
the
of
first. That's I always remembered. Like again, I was definitely not listening to those guys, but
Yeah.
it always
Yeah.
seemed like NSYNC was following Backstreet Boys.
Okay, well, we'll get into why and how and what became of that.
The nitty gritty. I love it.
Yes, the nitty gritty.
The dirt.
So the article starts off right off the top. I was like, I read it or something. It says there are two types of people in the world, fans of NSYNC or Backstreet Boys, which I think is fair enough. I think that's true.
Yep.
Yeah.
NSYNC member Lance Bass's documentary, The Boy Band Con, The Lou Pearlman Story, was released in 2019 and featured members of multiple boy bands and their families documenting the devastation and deceit they experienced during their time working with former manager Lou Pearlman, their father figure turned enemy. We could do a whole podcast on Lou Pearlman.
I definitely recognize that name, and
He was a bit of a skis bag, huh?
he was.
Yeah.
He was.
yeah,
I mean, like I said, we're not going to talk too much about him in this one because there's just so much to go down, the rabbit hole with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was sort of the instrumental person.
yeah.
But Pearlman, who died in 2016, was the man credited for kicking off the boy band boom in the 90s, starting the careers of supergroups like NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, LFO, and everybody's favorite, O-Town.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
O-Town.
They were the one. They had the TV show, right?
They
Yeah,
did.
the Liquid Dreams song.
Yes, that was so creepy.
It was super creepy. Oh my God, it's like everyone knows what the song is
Little
about.
Liquid Dreams, like you're not even trying.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
like, I didn't even at the time. You're like, oh, this is so like fun, and then as you're older, you're like, ooh, that's creepy.
Oh
Yeah.
come on! Even at the time, we knew what this was.
Well,
I didn't.
This
I
is
wasn't
a
a
song about
boy.
wet dreams. God damn it!
Yeah.
I wasn't a boy. I didn't know. However old I was, probably 20. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was like they were definitely like.
Yeah, when O-Town came out, we were like late teens, early 20s.
I was gonna say that was like the late '90s.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah.
Maybe 2000,
Yeah.
somewhere
Alright.
around there. Anyway, sorry.
But in the early 90s, it was all about NSYNC and BSB and their battle to top the pop charts, which is exactly how Pearlman wanted it. He set
Oh.
this up right from the start.
He wanted the rivalry.
The
He did.
mastermind, the man behind the curtain.
Oh my
pulling the
God.
strings.
The
And
Papa
to-
Master.
And today, with Chris Kirkpatrick admitting he was hardly a fan of BSB's AJ McLean, we couldn't help but look back on one of music's most hyped and secretly encouraged rivalries. Dun dun dun.
Because they definitely seemed to have like
They did.
each one of them kind of was like their own sort of personality, I guess. But
Yeah.
then
Yes.
it seemed like the Backstreet Boy characters were the same.
As the
They
NSYNC
had their sort of-
characters.
We'll get into
Yeah.
that. Were they, though? Were
Yeah.
they?
Seemed like it to me, but
Well, the BSB versus NSYNC rivalry mostly seemed to be fueled by their warring legions of loyal fans. Bass and other members of the two groups revealed in the Boy Band Con that it was very real for them at the start of their careers, with Pearlman, who was managing both bands, more than happy to have his two prize acts at odds.
Whoa, he really wanted this to go down, like a
He
fight
did.
between the two.
you want to bring this all the smoke.
So, how did Pearlman end up starting, fueling, and ultimately ending one of the greatest boy band rivalries? I don't know.
How do you do
Do
it?
you know?
No, I don't
You
know.
know?
Money. I don't.
That's a solid guess.
Before becoming the so-called Berry Gordy of the boy band generation, Pearlman was the head of Transcontinental, an Orlando-based umbrella company that included a travel agency, Chippendale dancers, and chartering planes. Not exactly a traditional start for a music manager.
No,
No,
those are three very, very different,
yeah.
flights, Chippendale dancers, and umbrellas.
And that's some of the Backstreet Boys dance moves make sense, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. But
Yeah.
here is where the seed was planted. But he made the decision to enter the music industry after chartering a private plane for New Kids on the Block, the gold standard of boy bands at the time. I said to my cousin, how can they afford an airplane, these kids? Pearlman remembered asking. That cousin would be Art Garfunkel of the legendary Simon and Garfunkel, who told him just how much freaking money the five guys were making.
So it's Art
Hold on.
Garfunkel's fault.
Art Garfunkel. Yeah, I never thought there was a Simon and Garfunkel connection here.
Well,
No.
So
that's-
hold on. Art Garfunkel was the cousin of Lou Pearlman?
yes.
Yeah.
What?
I don't
Right?
think I've ever heard of that before.
I mean,
No.
this is what Tierney said in her article. So
Yeah.
we're going, I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
she's
yeah.
fact checked.
No, but that's
Yeah.
Pearlman said, I was on the wrong side of the coin. Artie told me, you're in business, you like music, you should do something like that. So as a weekend goof, we decided to do a little audition, and one thing led to another. That's it. That's how it started.
that's all it takes sometimes. Someone makes a comment, you're like, obviously Lou Pearlman had some money with his businesses to,
Well, he had Artie.
Art Garfunkel, yeah. I mean, you need someone in an in to the music business.
If Paul Simon shows up in this story, I'm going to lose my
Wait,
mind.
but the connection gets even like whatever. He formed Transcontinental Records and launched a $3 million talent contest with his own money in the hopes of finding the next great money-making boy band. And that, in a nutshell, is how the Backstreet Boys were formed, with the help of a successful music manager, Johnny Wright, who had worked with NKOTB, New Kids on the Block. Worlds colliding.
New Kids on the Block were the gold standard of boy bands.
Yep.
Yeah.
The first member of Backstreet Boys was McLean, who auditioned for Perlman in his living room after seeing an ad for the contest. After that, Perlman held an open casting call that took place in a blimp hangar, which later became the heat-filled home of what would be known as Boy Band Boot Camp. The process included 6 to 8 hours a day of dance rehearsals, voice lessons, and no air conditioning.
Jesus. That sounds horrible. I would die.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't have never made
Okay,
it.
but they were also like teenagers. They're fine.
Yeah, I guess they're more resilient than us
I
old
get
guys.
the whole like practicing, but the no AC is the...
Yeah, that's the kicker.
Howie Dorough met Perlman next in 1992. Nick Carter auditioned soon after, and then Kevin Richardson, who was working at Disney World at the time, was somehow recommended by his wannabe music manager's limo driver. It's so weird how these things happen.
His wannabe music manager's limo driver.
So he obviously was trying to get into the industry, had a wannabe whatever, and their limo driver.
Yeah. Just
Okay.
Very I mean, the guy's auditioning is one thing, but
Yep.
some random
But
ways
then
in here.
the necessary fifth slot was proving difficult to fill. That is until Kevin suggested his younger cousin. In fact, Brian Littrell, however you want to say it, recalled the exact date his life changed in that cover story. April 19, 1993. He was in history class in Kentucky when he was pulled out because he had a phone call with Destiny. Richardson told him, "Why don't you come and, sing with these guys down here? I'm in this group and we're going to make records and be famous." So long, college plans. Hello, boy band infamy.
Yeah, I think you get a call like that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he was a singer or something like that. You get that phone call, be like, yeah. You get that age, you're like, I'm going to go for it.
So this is the birth of the Backstreet Boys.
That's the birth of the Backstreet Boys.
Okay.
Did you guys know all that stuff?
I pretty much did as a BSB camper.
I just thought,
No, I didn't know that.
a little history of how they formed.
I knew like they were like there was an audition that
Yeah.
formed the band. I didn't know the details behind that. Like I definitely didn't know the Art Garfunkel piece.
Your minds
I
are
had
blown.
heard that, I think I had read or heard that two of them were related or something or other. But yeah, other than that, I had no idea about other than like, it was auditions or something. I didn't really know how they formed.
So it said, except it would be 3 or 4 years of hard work traveling all over Europe to make a name for themselves before finally making a splash in the U.S. in 1997. So
A European tour was the whole start of this thing?
Well, yeah, you go to Europe first.
I wonder
mean,
why.
I thought they did malls first, like Tiffany.
Because Europe, I feel like, is I don't know, I'm guessing for that genre, it's probably an easier market to hit
Obviously,
into. Like into the U.S., you're dealing
there's
with
also a lot more people over there, so maybe you try and get gain some traction there to...
That's true.
European recording artists. Backstreet Boys.
So it said, throughout it all, Perlman, affectionately called Big Papa by the group, cultivated a family dynamic, hosting big dinners, letting the boys hang out in his mansion, even hosting McLean and Littrell. I always say Littrell, but I think it's Littrell's joint birthday party. Hanging over at Lou's was like going to Disneyland. He had every freaking toy you can imagine, McLean said in the band's 2015 documentary.
I bet he did.
In hindsight, that's probably super creepy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. What BSB didn't know, though, was that Perlman, Wright, and co-manager Donna Wright had quietly started working with another boy band. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh. He's planting multiple seeds all over the place in case the Backstreet Boy tree...
That's right. You're going to...
goes south.
In 1995, NSYNC began an unlikely first member, Kirkpatrick, who crossed paths with Perlman when he auditioned to be in BSB.
I can't hear that guy's name without thinking of the Eminem song.
Yeah.
Kirkpatrick?
Chris Kirkpatrick?
Why? What's up with the Eminem song?
That's the
Eminem
lyric.
called him out, yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to get his ass kicked worse than the little Limp Bizkit back.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I thought you were talking about the candy M&Ms. I was like, what does that have to do?
No.
Not the candy. They might have had beef with him too, but
I was like, why did they have beef with him? It was candy.
M&Ms have always had beef with with Chris Kirkpatrick specifically. The peanut M&M, he hates him.
Anyway, let's move on. He eventually teamed up with Justin Timberlake and JC Chazé to start forming their own band. After their show, the Mickey Mouse Club was canceled. Timberlake and Shazay would go on to share lead vocals, had previously recorded demos together in Nashville. The trio eventually ran into Kirkpatrick's friend, Joey Fatone, who was working at one of the theme parks in Orlando at a club. I mean, Orlando was a place to be if you wanted to be in a boy band.
So.
Like, working at Disney World apparently worked wonders for your singing career.
Right?
No kidding.
Now, this is where it's a little interesting. I didn't know this, like, part, whatever. But, of course, they needed to find their fifth and final member. While they initially had Jason Galasso as their bass singer, it didn't work out, though his mark was forever left on the group as their band name came from the last initial of each member's first name. Did you know that? NSYNC? It's the last letter of each of their first names.
I had no idea. I thought it was just like a pun. Like we're in sync with each other. We're NSYNC.
What
Yeah.
I thought too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Timberlake's vocal coach suggested Bass, a 15-year-old from Mississippi who flew out to Orlando the day after his homecoming parade to audition. After agreeing to the nickname Lanston so they could keep their name, Bass was in and BSB officially had a rival. Not that they knew it at the time. But they made him have a nickname to keep Lanston.
Lanston?
That's so lame.
I know. It's brutal.
It's like,
Oh
we
my
can't just be called
gosh.
NSYNC. No.
No.
You have to have a now fake nickname so that you have an N on the end so it fits the band name.
With the success of the Backstreet Boys as NSYNC, we always felt like the red-headed stepchild. We couldn't even go into the record label because the employees there didn't know we existed, Bass revealed in the Boy Band Con, adding they were referred to in documents and expense reports as B5 to keep the secrecy. And Lou did not want them to know about us just yet because he didn't want to upset the Backstreet Boys. But they were about to find out in a devastating way.
Oh, no.
Oh my God.
Dun,
Yeah,
dun,
that's kind of a big secret to keep, but I can see where Lou Pearlman is spending $3 million, whatever, on top of, to cost all this
He
stuff.
just wants them both to be successful to make money.
Well, he's not spending $3 million of his own
No.
money just to lose it.
It sounds like a bad wrestling storyline.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like a manager's got his like prize wrestler or something in the background, he's priming the new guy.
And I
Yeah,
think
exactly. And
you
it's
also have to remember, which is kind of sad at the time too, like most of these guys were very young. Like, only a couple of them had hit 20. And I think like Nick Carter and like the youngest one of NSYNC, like they were probably like 14 or 15.
Well, they said the one guy was like
Lance was like 15.
Like,
Yeah.
I can't imagine
No.
at 15 my parents being like, yeah, sure, you want to go live with this rich old guy in Florida?
Well, but some parents are
Well,
like, ooh,
Yeah.
They're
They see the luster of stardom, like, oh, go for it.
Or
They're
he
not
wants to
like-
be a singer, and this is a great
Yeah.
opportunity.
Well, yeah, and not
so-
just that. I mean, if your kid's really passionate about
No,
it,
that's what I'm
and you're
saying.
like,
Yeah, like it's like if your kid wants to go into this avenue. I totally forgot too to mention that I forgot that Justin Timberlake was on the Mickey Mouse.
Club.
Yeah.
We never
Yes.
had the Mickey Mouse Club up here in Canada as kids. I don't ever
No.
remember seeing
But
it.
we do have a very famous Canadian who was on the Mickey Mouse Club, Ryan Gosling.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Semi-local boy.
From Cornwall, initially Cornwall, Ontario. He lived in Burlington. He lived in Toronto. I don't know. He lived a bunch of places.
Yeah.
But he's initially from Cornwall, Ontario.
Yep. Home of the famous Corn Fest.
Is it?
I don't know. I saw a video with him.
That's right, the video, yes.
of the Cornwall, I think it was a corn fest, and he's like eating corn and he's talking about it and
Yeah.
stuff, and he's like 9-10 years old.
Yeah.
Destined for stardom.
He was all over the places. I remember seeing him on a bunch of random TV shows.
Yeah.
And, stuff like
He
that.
was.
And then when he became like into movies, like
Yeah.
this,
What?
that fucking guy.
Yeah, I know. The guy from Young Hercules.
Breaker High.
Breaker
Okay, but
High?
guys, focus. We can do
Oh,
a whole
sorry.
Ryan
That's true.
Gosling. Like, we're talking
Yeah.
about the boy band rivalry. We're supposed to be like sitting on the edge of our seats waiting to find out.
I'm sure
Yeah.
he wasn't in a boy band actually. Just anyways. Yeah.
Yeah.
In their documentary, Richardson recalled Perlman breaking the news of his new band to him in 1995 when he showed him a VHS recording of the rival group performing. It was almost like a betrayal, Richardson said. When we started out, we were like, yeah, we're a team. We're going to take over the world. There's nobody like us. Then you find out, well, actually, there is somebody like you.
And
Yeah.
none of they like you. They're also managed by me. Surprise!
Hey.
So I guess the big question is, why would the management stage and encourage this rivalry? Why do you think Why do you guys think they would do that?
I think it's just money.
It's all money.
It's all
always
money. Yeah, exactly.
Well-
I think Lou saw dollar signs with Backstreet Boys. Is like, well, why don't I make double the cash, get a second band going?
Yeah.
Which I think,
I'm making bank now.
yeah, I mean, that's definitely it. But also they wanted the monopoly on boy bands right? Boy
Yeah.
band era was starting. New
Yeah.
Kids on the Block had just been huge. So it's like, why don't we just get as many boy bands as we can? And we control them.
Yeah.
We own the money
Yeah.
of them.
New Kids are pretty much wound down by like 93, 94, I'm guessing. They're done pretty much.
Who, the New Kids?
New Kids, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was that lull, right? Because
That's, I mean, there was a lull between boy band eras.
like we're in this
Yeah.
weird age where at least me, like I was almost a little too young for the whole New Kids on the Block fandom. Like I think their Hangin' Tough cassette, I was like in grade 2 or something, so I was like a little bit young for them. But then I was embarrassingly a little bit old for the Backstreet Boys, right? So it was like there was that gap of time when we would have been like all in on like a boy band where they just didn't really exist.
No, because like my sister was she's 3 years older than me, so she was a huge New Kids on the Block fan.
Yes,
Like,
you have some
Yeah.
stories about that.
yeah, she
We're
was
gonna
a
take-
massive fan.
We're going to take a quick little pause in reading the article because I feel like it's just kind of boring sometimes to read all these facts. But Steve has a really funny story about his sister being a huge New Kids on the Block fan. You're staring at me because you don't know what story. And how you, as the bratty little brother that probably she wanted to beat up every 2 seconds, well, you did, but your conscience came through. Do you remember the story?
Yeah, you want me to tell it real quick?
Of course, tell the story. Let's have some personal anecdotes.
Okay, yeah. So my sister had, she would buy like Teen Beat and Bop and Tiger or whatever.
Tiger
Tiger Beat, all those,
all
yeah,
those
teen
magazines. So
magazines.
she had all the, like her wall was just literally covered
Plastered.
in pictures of the New Kids on the Block,
Posters.
like all her wall.
Yeah.
So we got in a fight about, I don't know what, we were getting into something. She got mad at me for something. I got annoyed with her. So I decided in my wisdom, I took a ruler and a bunch of fishing line, and I fished the ruler behind every single poster and like zigzagged it all the way through and left it hanging outside of the last poster.
Yeah.
And then I don't even know if it would have worked, but then I tied it to her doorknob.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, and it's super tight. So when she opened the door, it would pull out and then
All the posters
it would
covered.
rip them all in half.
Yeah.
But
And at the last minute, I was like, so I set it all up and I was in the room. I was like, if I do this, I'm going to get in so much trouble. So I was like, so I ended up just cutting the string off and just
Yeah.
leaving it all there.
oh my
my God.
that would have
Yeah.
been pretty epic. Like she would have raged on you.
Yeah, I don't know if it would have been as disastrous as I thought.
But we'll never know.
But
That may have been the last day of Steve.
even if I had ripped one of them, we would have had a full-on fist fight, I'm sure.
Oh,
or
yeah.
something, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that wouldn't have ended well.
no. But at least at the time, I was like, this might be...
Your conscience got the
yeah,
best
it's
of
like,
you.
this is probably not worth the trouble I'm going to get into for doing this with my parents.
Did you ever
so-
tell her of your plan?
I did, yeah.
Yeah? What'd she say?
She wasn't impressed. She's like, yeah, I would have killed you. Like, see, there you go.
Yeah. See, you were right.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. To help set the two groups apart, their shared management gave them different looks and slightly different sounds. Did they? Did they really do that?
They were all kind of the same sounding. If you listen to like
Yeah.
all those bands on the Jive label, how's that for some dropping some knowledge?
Oh, I didn't even know that.
It was like BSB, Britney, NSYNC. They all had the same kind of like sound to their songs.
I think on the
like,
surface.
like the backing tracks, very similar.
Yeah.
But wait, for the Backstreet Boys, their image was a little bit darker. So they wore darker clothing. Harmonies were the thing that they really focused on the most, Johnny explained in the boy band Con. NSYNC, meanwhile, were the guys next door. They wore basketball jerseys and shorts and Jordan shoes. When it came to music, they really focused on the performance and the shows.
I do remember hearing or something about that NSYNC dancing was more like intense or something.
Yeah, I don't
But
know.
in terms of like the darkness of them or what, yeah.
I remember
That was totally lost on me as a non-fan.
all I know is with Britney Spears' book that came out recently, right? She kind of touched on how NSYNC tried to be more hip hop.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like anything, right? Like these boy bands get created, and then once they start getting some success, they start to be like, hey, like we kind of want to have a voice on how we are, and
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
have their own like styles and opinions. But it's kind of that whole like you do what we say and you'll keep getting the money
Well,
Yeah.
that's
versus
we have this image
Yeah.
that we're
Yeah.
portraying, like you're basically almost sometimes being a character to yourself or playing a character
oh
almost.
yeah, you're a role,
like,
right?
Yeah.
you're acting sometimes.
But there was one performance that became the defining moment for both the bands.
The Super Bowl? I don't know.
No.
No. I didn't know the Super
In
Bowl.
1998, BSB was offered the chance to do an hour-long special for the Disney Channel, but after years of nonstop touring and working, they were running on fumes, so they declined. More than
The
half,
boys are burned out.
right? But more than happy to dance
gonna
their way
say,
into
I
the
guess it-
slot. NSYNC, everything we turned down, they got, is how McLean put it in 2005. They were right on our coattails. Ooh, AJ.
You're not going to turn down the prestige of a Disney concert.
No one says no to the mouse.
The special proved to be a breakout moment that the up-and-coming group had been waiting for. And after that, everything changed. Everything changed.
It did.
Well, Disney Channel was like I said, I know we didn't have that up here in Canada. At
no,
least,
well, you
maybe
could
was
watch
on
it
cable or
here. Because my friend, we used to watch the Mickey Mouse Club.
Oh, okay.
It was a star-making machine. Like, think
But
about
that's
that.
what I'm saying. It's like was it Nickelodeon and all that? Like,
Yeah.
it just generated
It was
teen pop stuff.
On the Mickey Mouse Club, you had like Britney, Christina Aguilera,
Justin Timberlake, Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
There was some others that aren't as like famous per
but
se.
that's but it was like it was basically designed to create these teen idols, teen pop stars, teen whatever.
So the ultimate goal was to do it not once but twice, Wright said, of trying to take NSYNC to the next level a la Backstreet, which worked after the Disney Channel special. I think we've done that, and obviously it caused a problem. Mm-hmm.
Well, you got egos and stuff, and it's, I can see where it,
For NSYNC, the underdog band that eventually overtook BSB, they seemed unfazed by the rumors of competition, at least publicly. People try to make a feud out of everything, Timberlake told Rolling Stone, and we didn't see it like that. Bull crap. I call bull crap on that.
Well, if you're the underdog, it's a little different versus, when you're the scrappy young upstart, you're just going to take everything as like an opportunity. But if you're the Backstreet Boys who are the bigger band, then you start to look at them as a threat.
And that's exactly it.
They look at, sort of look at two different sides of that coin.
Well, and that's exactly it. The Backstreet Boys were not happy with NSYNC, Donna Wright said. They weren't happy with Perlman because he put another band together to compete with them. Whereas NSYNC's like, sweet, let's ride on these coattails and get
for them,
what we
everything's
need
an opportunity.
No, exactly. So they're like, this is great. Whereas for the Backstreet Boys, like, what the hell are these guys do? And the fact that they're managed, produced by the same guy that's your man, like,
it seems like a conflict.
A massive one, Where Lou Pearlman is just back and
I collect all of the money.
Gets all the money, exactly.
Now, there's always turmoil between these groups and people, whatever. But I think the Backstreet Boy member who felt the most betrayed by Perlman was Kevin Richardson, who especially viewed the producer as a parental figure after he had recently lost his father to cancer.
And that's the thing, though, because a lot of the time that
they're so young.
They're young.
They leave from home. They're. So
and you look up to this guy and you trust him, and then he stabs you in the back like this.
And like I said, that's a big, I can see where it's a pretty big betrayal.
And I think, like he said here, it's not NSYNC itself, but where NSYNC comes from that digs me, and gets to me still to this day. So it's not NSYNC per se. It's like, it's what Lou Pearlman did.
Yeah, it's the
damn
situation.
Lou.
It's Big Papa, whatever they call him. Papa, what do they call him? Papa what?
Big Papa, wasn't it?
Papa P?
I can't remember.
Whatever, but like I can see where it's like, doesn't matter what NSYNC did, the way they were.
Yeah.
They're going to have some ill will.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Well, part of Perlman's strategy was taken straight from the hallway of your average middle school. He would complain about BSP to NSYNC and vice versa, turning them against each other with lies about diva behavior, with Kirkpatrick saying, if I were the Backstreet Boys, I would have hated us too. Like, I mean, it's okay.
This is Shakespearean.
Well,
he's like a little like Iago.
But again, what gets me is when I think about the fact that like these are kids.
Yeah.
These aren't adults.
He's playing them off each other. This is like
kids.
Yeah. No, and he's just doing it to make more money.
Yeah.
Sell more albums.
All for Lou.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Lance Bass said, what Lou did to us worked like a charm. He pitted us against each other and we stayed against each other our whole entire careers. If I saw them in a room, I wouldn't even want to talk to them. I was scared of them. I didn't know if they were going to yell at me or not.
They should have had a massive 5 on. Was there 5 of them?
They should have had a dance fight.
Like beat it.
And then the rivalry was real for the fans too. Like battle lines were drawn for every teenage girl growing up in that era, and you had to choose which band you were going to pledge your undying loyalties to, except if you were one of their managers, it seemed. That's just straight from the article. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was like
Lou Pearlman could whatever, but if you were a fan, and that's what I kind of remember it being. It was like people were either NSYNC or Backstreet Boys. There was no.
But here's the other thing too is like Perlman wasn't the only member of their management team that the Backstreet Boys felt anger toward over the conflict of interest, as Wright was eventually given an ultimatum by the Backstreet Boys, us or them. He chose NSYNC.
What I want to, where's Art Garfunkel and all
I
this?
was going to say.
Where's Art Garfunkel?
He started this whole mess.
This is all his fault.
Exactly.
Basically.
Thanks a lot, Art.
So that was kind of like, you know, I think it says here, like really quickly to summarize and not verbatim, but, you know, he was made an offer that he couldn't refuse. The split was happening. And he's like, you know, I just kind of went where the offer was between the two bands. Because the Backstreet Boy, you know, gave him the ultimatum.
So Lou chose...
No, Johnny Wright.
So Johnny Wright chose NSYNC.
Chose NSYNC.
Whoa.
Yeah. So this is where the turmoil and the controversy and the like back and forth kind of started because, you know, he was given an ultimatum and he didn't choose the one who gave the ultimatum. So,
Well, it's usually the way it goes. Usually people give an ultimatum, like, fine, F you, I'm out.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you know, he chose.
Yeah.
He chose not them. So that kind of started, there was lawsuits, there was legal stuff, yada, 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 because when money's involved, everybody wants a piece of the pie.
Exactly what it is, yeah.
But the last thing he had said to BSB was, we had a great run together, we were successful together, but now you're putting me in a position where I have to work against you. So I turned my attention to making NSYNC the most successful boy band I possibly could. Consider the battle for boy band dominance officially on.
Whoa. So as an outsider, I can kind of see that how it progressed. Like Backstreet Boys were the first band.
Yes.
And it definitely felt to me like NSYNC overtook them eventually as like the bigger band.
I feel like, I don't know, like it's not really clear because they both had lots of success. But at the end, if we're just going to go based on like factual numbers, I mean, there's a lot of criteria to determine who is the better band, right?
I think NSYNC outsold Backstreet Boys, right?
You have to find out.
Oh!
But, I mean, there's lots of things like right now, given where Justin Timberlake is, he's clearly one of the most successful members of a boy band of all time.
If you want to,
right? Like,
if you want to go down that route to look at like individual
there's a lot of criteria.
That's a whole other.
Yeah.
But in terms of the groups, it did seem like whenever that "It's Gonna Be Me" song,
that song with they're like puppets.
That's kind
and
of
the music video
seemed like
so
they kind of surpassed it. You're right. That's
really,
it seemed like they became the.
They were the big band, and then Backstreet Boys were kind of on the downswing at that point.
And if they kind of disappeared.
You guys, I got it. Okay, I got it.
You guys got the notes.
All right.
You got to keep us in check here.
I know, we're going off the rails.
We're going off the rails.
I'm getting passionate about this boy band
right?
thing now.
But okay, so then
I'm feeling the heat the fans felt.
So then all the behind the scenes stuff were happening, and like, you know, Backstreet Boys struck first, releasing their smash hit album Millennium, which was huge. It shattered record for the first week sales, selling over 1.1 million in its opening week. Like that was a huge album for Backstreet
That's the
Boys.
I Want It That Way.
Yeah.
Album,
So I was
right?
going to ask what songs were on that one because I was trying to figure out where we are in the.
But this is also when stuff was happening behind the scenes with Lou Pearlman and the boy bands being like, "Hey Lou, where my cash? Where
They're not
is
getting
my
paid
cash?"
yet?
I mean, they're getting paid, but you know, you hear all these terrible stories from the like 90s where people were getting like 1 cent on
I think
every
we need
sale.
to watch this documentary.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
I did watch it. We probably should have watched it before we did this, but I think I have watched it in the past. There's a couple of them.
I think we all watched it, didn't we?
I watched the Backstreet Boy one, but this one is one that was actually made by Lance Bass. He produced it, and it's kind of more... Lanston?
God damn.
What a terrible name.
I know.
But yeah, I'm not going to go into all the details of the legal stuff because that's a whole podcast on its own. But like, there was money involved. I mean, you know, Lance Bass talks about how he remembers Pearlman presenting each member of the band with a check for just $10,000 at a dinner after selling over 10 million records.
Yeah.
10 grand. I mean, there should be a couple of those.
But listen,
This was missing.
Listen, it was the first time they had been paid aside from receiving a daily $35 stipend.
$35 a day?
So I mean, like,
That?
come on.
They dealt with a lot of BS to be in BSB.
But again,
BSB.
that was NSYNC. But again, remember.
Did you hear Steve's pun?
Yes, I did. But you guys, you're unfocusing me.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just kidding.
But no, that is insane. $30 a day per diem.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, though. Again, you have to remember these are kids. So, what?
And that's the thing. A piece of shit like Lou Pearlman.
Yeah. He's ripping these guys off.
Has no problem taking whatever he can get. And,
So there was lots of stuff between all that, you know, lawyer stuff, lawsuits that went on for years and years and years and years and years and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, I can see why.
Lou Pearlman was definitely not great.
Oh, Lou looks out for Lou.
Yeah. And they actually got emancipated from Lou Pearlman in 1999. They're like, bye, NSYNC said bye,
Was
bye,
he their
bye.
parent?
I was gonna say.
Well, I think from being the
Like
management,
legal guardian?
no, like the talent manager, right?
Okay.
Like you sign
Okay, yeah,
contracts,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
they just use the word emancipated, but it's like, oh wait, I just read this. It makes so much sense. Their first single off the next album they did after they left Lou Pearlman was "Bye Bye Bye."
That's NSYNC.
NSYNC, that's what I said.
Oh wow. Yeah, it makes sense now. So there's sending Lou a message,
it was
Bye,
a
bye,
big,
bye.
Yeah,
Bye, bye.
They flipped him the bird.
and that
Yeah.
was their big album
Oh
too.
yeah, it was huge. Like
Yeah.
it's so technically it sold 2.4 million in
That's
its
what I
first
remember. I
week.
remember they outsold the Backstreet Boys. It was
Yeah.
a big deal.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a lot too.
Yeah.
Same year. So I mean, again, I feel like this war is like back and forth, back and forth.
You know
back
who wins
and
in
forth.
this war? Us,
The
music fans. You get new Backstreet Boys, new NSYNC. It was glorious.
What a year to be alive.
So yeah, I mean, there's all this stuff happened. They all had successes. They all won awards. They all did concerts. They all did tours. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, over the years, obviously, Backstreet Boys and NSYNC have parted ways. They've gotten back. Well, Backstreet Boys more notably have gotten back together for like reunion shows more than NSYNC. NSYNC recently just got back together.
That
They
was a
reunited
short,
for a Trolls movie or something.
that was short-lived.
Yeah.
I mean, NSYNC kind of reunites to perform like once at shows, and then that's it. Whereas the Backstreet Boys like went on like other tours, and you
Yeah,
know,
are they on tour now, or they were? Yeah,
They were,
they
yeah.
like reunited for like a full-on tour, I think, or something.
Yeah.
Didn't they?
Yeah.
And New Kids on the Block too, which we're not. But
No.
So ultimately, the respective betrayals brought them together, something Big Papa never would have expected and absolutely dreaded, with Wright recalling a big moment just before the bands made their big moves against Perlman. Both bands were competing in a charity basketball game, with Timberlake, Chazez, Luttrell, and Carter heading to McDonald's afterwards. Wright could hear them whispering about Perlman in the back of the car, both reps from each band airing their grievances. So, I mean, again, like,
Wait, he's ripping you off?
yeah.
He's ripping us off?
And,
Yeah.
and they
What?
also get older and they realize, right?
well, that's it. You're not a kid anymore, and
Yeah.
you know you start to.
So that's all kind of what happened. They were all like, screw this. Let's band together. Let's get what we're owed. And F you, Lou Pearlman.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly what happens. And
They should have made a super group. The NSYNC
That's what they
Boys.
should have done, like some sort of mass, like
Yeah.
all 10 of them, or you know.
So
Exactly.
really quickly to sum up sort of the Lou Pearlman aspect of the story, for those of you who don't know.
Yeah.
He was charged with like running a Ponzi scheme. It was nothing. There was no, at least he wasn't charged and convicted of any kind of like inappropriate behavior towards band.
Yeah, the
bands
band
and
members.
stuff.
Yeah.
Some other groups, not necessarily NSYNC or Backstreet Boys, some of the other groups he managed, that are lesser known, have made claims against him, but that's nothing that's been proven or anything like that. He was convicted and charged with like the Ponzi scheme, insurance fraud, like that kind of like white collar
financial
stuff.
stuff,
Yeah.
Sadly, none of that surprised me, kind
No.
of based on what
No.
we've heard about Lou in the story here.
And so in 2008, he was sentenced to 25 years in prison after being accused of running one of the largest and longest running Ponzi schemes in history, bilking investors out of more than $300 million.
Wow.
And over the years, like Backstreet Boys took him back to court in 2014. Like it was just a mess.
Yeah,
just
yeah,
a mess.
oh man, that's awful.
But in 2010, Perlman suffered a stroke while incarcerated. In 2016, he died. I mean, R.I.P. But whatever.
Yeah, that's
That's crazy. I didn't. Yeah, I forgot he went to. I think I knew he went to jail, but I don't
Yeah.
remember
Ironically,
what,
he was scheduled to be released in 2029, which isn't that far
Weird.
from now, right?
yeah.
No, a few more years, but yeah.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of with the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, like there's, like I said, documentaries that were referenced in here, but like a lot of them talked about like, you know, it was mixed emotions when he died, because it was like a lot of them hated him.
Well, it's like that
But
weird.
it's
This guy was
like-
kind of like. I mean, he
It's
whatever he helped get them to where they were.
And he was like the father
it's sort
figure.
Of, it's all sort of poetic. It's like full circle. Lou started the rivalry,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
the rivalry ended because of him, and the bands bonded over what a piece of crap this guy was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I
kind of
mean,
realized once they
they-
start talking to each other, realize, hey, we got way more in common than
Yeah.
with Lou, kind of maybe that's part of the reason too why he would try to keep them apart.
His house of cards crumbled.
That's right. He didn't want them to talk because they're like, "How much are you getting paid?"
Oh,
"How much
yeah,
are you
I
getting
mean,
paid?
for
We're not
sure.
getting-"
Yeah.
You know.
Again, it was easy when he has a bunch of like 14 to 18-year-olds that just are like, oh my God, we have a big
We're
show.
happy to be performing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're making $35 a day every day.
$10,000 check
Great.
is huge. Like, can you imagine being like, okay, I'll take that, but then realizing like how much,
Well,
How much he was making off
Yeah,
of
it's
this.
like who's paying for all these fancy houses you have and all this stuff? Well, you guys are.
Yeah, I
want to
do.
tell you,
Hey.
but this is all on your dime.
I do have some personal. I mean, okay. Well, let me just finish this.
Well,
part.
I mean, like, you're the biggest fan of the boy bands
Yeah.
on this panel today. What, you haven't given us your opinion
Here,
yet.
let me just give you guys these facts because I know you guys are going to be based very much on facts because you
Okay.
didn't have a personal passion towards any of these groups. So, I mean, again, there's tons of criteria to decide if they're better than the other, who, whatever. I mean, you can use whatever criteria you want, but simply when it comes to records sold,
Yeah.
who do you think sold the most records overall?
Overall, that's tough. I'm going to say NSYNC.
What about you, Steve?
Just to I'll say Backstreet Boys, just to
So NSYNC has sold over 70 million records. Huge, right? Like
Big number.
insane. They've released 4 studio albums, yada yada yada. They've done everything,
only
right?
4 albums, right? That's it.
Small window.
Backstreet Boys have sold over 100 million.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I thought NSYNC overtook the Backstreet
Yeah.
Boys.
I thought they did too.
So-
but I was like,
Yeah.
I'll pick Backstreet Boys just to pick the opposite
Based on that, the Backstreet Boys are the biggest boy band of all time. Now, on my research, like out of all the criteria boy band groups, Backstreet Boys are undeniably in record sales the most successul boy band of all
More
time.
than New Kids on the Block and all those other bands. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, that's crazy. I mean, and also with the Backstreet Boys, they stayed a group longer than NSYNC too, right? So you have to remember that.
That's true. They had
That's
a longer
true.
window.
Yeah.
So like, does that play into it?
Well,
Like,
the
there's
fact that
so
they're
many things.
still 100% it does because they're still touring.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, even
know.
through all the like, I don't know a lot about the NSYNC like intricacies of all the band members, but Backstreet Boys had a lot of things. Like Kevin Richardson left the group for a couple of years. He was like, peace
He had
out.
a dependency problem, right?
No, that wasn't it. He just left.
Oh.
And then AJ McLean had a lot of substance abuse
That's the
problems.
one I was
That's
thinking
right,
of.
I remember,
Yeah.
So he was in and out of treatment, and he was performing. He was not. So I mean, they had a lot of hurdles. Nick has had his
I
own
was gonna
substance
say,
abuse.
when his whole family was really sad. Like
Yeah.
Really sad.
brother and his sisters. I
Yeah.
was reading about him recently. One of them,
Yeah.
it's really,
So-
really
It's a
sad.
tough situation.
They
then.
dealt
Yeah.
with a lot of stuff. NSYNC, you don't really hear so much about that stuff. I know, you don't hear all that like
No,
nitty gritty
yeah,
stuff.
No.
right. Yeah, you didn't hear. I'm sure.
They definitely seem
were
like the
probably-
more cleaner cut group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Image wise, whatever. I mean, I'm sure they have their skeletons and their
I'm.
stuff
Oh,
as
you
well.
know,
I'm
you're
probably.
rich and famous.
Yeah.
That comes with
But
things that you get into. I'm sure.
I was definitely a Backstreet Boy fan. Like that was I enjoyed NSYNC songs. I did like them, but Backstreet Boys was my thing.
I can't believe this.
It also helped that I did have a sister who was a couple years younger than me, so she was right in that like perfect age for the boy band, like whatever. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
kind of like jumped on that with her. Again, I was a little bit old for the boy band phase, but whatever.
No, it's fine, but they're definitely geared towards that like
Yeah.
tween.
Yeah.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Tween to early teen era.
teenage,
Yeah.
like,
I
that's sort
can't
of
remember how many concerts I went to, but I've been to a bunch. And I remember back then it was like the whole like you have to call Ticketmaster and stay on hold, or you get the busy signal and you have to keep calling.
the good
Oh,
old days
man.
of getting tickets.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I remember I went to I've been to a bunch of concerts. I don't know, maybe 5, maybe 6. I don't know.
That's a lot, yeah.
exactly. But they were always fun.
Lou Pearlman thanks you.
They were just fun because like, I mean, my first concert, I was one of those people that made a sign.
Oh no.
I did.
Was it like "Marry Me, Nick" or something like that?
I even remember what I wore.
Was it a Hulkamania sign?
No, I even remember what I wore to the first Backstreet Boy concert. I wore my Aikido overalls. Those were the shiz back then.
I remember
okay?
Aikido.
I remember the
overalls.
overall
Aikido overalls.
era for girls. Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you
then
have one strap undone with the flap hanging down?
I don't know about that. I had butterfly clips in my hair. I don't know. But I remember that, and I remember my poster. Me and my sister worked on that poster. Now, I have been to an NSYNC concert, too.
You haven't told us what the poster said.
It doesn't matter. I was a Nick fan, okay? I was a Nick fan. Just is what it is. But I did go to an NSYNC concert. That was just kind of like a fluky, like somebody I knew had a ticket and asked me to go, and I went. I never bought NSYNC tickets. They do a good show too. And you know who opened for NSYNC?
Backstreet Boys?
Tatiana Ali. Remember her?
Oh, from Fresh Prince.
Yeah,
Ashley
she
from the
was
Fresh
pretty
Prince.
good.
Yeah.
She was
I
pretty
forgot
good.
she
She had a music career for a bit.
went to like being a pop star too.
Yeah.
And I do believe that NSYNC performed at Maple Leaf Gardens when it was Maple Leaf
So
Gardens.
that shows you.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a while back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Maple Leaf Gardens.
But I was all into the boy band. I had the posters. I had the CDs. I used to me and my friends wanted to recreate one of their music videos. Like I would watch Much Music. Like I loved, Nick and everything about it. It was a fun time.
Well, it was just so different back then. It's just sort of but talking about like music video because you had Much Music up
Yeah.
here in Canada. You had MTV. So it's totally different back then. And these guys would be on the shows and talk, their videos. Like it was just different back in the 90s.
Different.
It was,
And
music and stuff was just so different.
So
Yeah.
I was definitely a Backstreet Boy fan. I never crossed over to the NSYNC. I didn't hate NSYNC. I just
Good.
always focused on Backstreet Boys. And like I said, I would have never gone to an NSYNC concert if it wasn't for that fluky, like, hey, I have a ticket, go with me. I was, I'm not going to lie. I always thought, no hate, Justin, no hate. But his hair really irritated me. It looked like ramen noodles.
Oh, the ramen noodle era?
Not
good.
It's like bleach blonde.
Yeah,
Can't with you.
I know.
I always liked Lance. He was cute and he was like fun and like, I don't know. Justin seems so serious.
He was an artist.
Yeah, okay. I mean, whatever. Say what you want about Justin. He's made a career. He's successfully.
He's definitely
solo artist.
out of
He's had the biggest
both
solo career.
bands. He's the only one that's had a real worthwhile solo career. Like,
But all right, so Steve, you said you had a funny story about the Backstreet Boys. Let's hear it.
yeah, so this is I don't know what year this was, but they were playing a concert in Hamilton, Ontario, Coliseum,
Hamilton.
and I had to
Still
go.
down.
I had to go pick somebody up at the concert, so I didn't go to it, but I just drove down there because I dropped them off, so I had to pick them up. So I was standing on the corner,
It's already live.
right out front of the arena. And so the concert was obviously over because people were starting to come out and stuff like that. All of a sudden, which seems like a terrible idea, where the garage is into the Cops Coliseum, all of a sudden some tour buses start coming out. Mm-hmm. But there's like thousands of girls everywhere.
Oh, no.
So sure enough, the bus gets to hits the red light at the main intersection right in front of me. And I'm just looking at it because I'm like, okay, this is obviously a band bus because it's a tour bus. You can see like it's a lived in, like you can see it's got like the windows all tinted. You could see some people inside. So a bunch of girls block the intersection.
Oh, no.
And so the driver starts honking the horn and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they're all like screaming in the windows and like, ah.
Because they all know what's in the bus.
Or they assume who's in the
So
bus,
there's I don't know how many 50 girls in the front or whatever, but it's just kind of me on the corner and these girls are starting to run to the front of it. All of a sudden the side window opens and it's Kevin from the Backstreet Boys.
Oh my God.
And he's like, please let us out. Let us through. Please let us through. We've got
Let us out of Hamilton, God,
I can't really
please.
see, but he's like, we got to get out of it. We need to go. Please clear the way. And he looks over at me and I just flipped him off.
Oh my God.
And he just closed the window.
Was he looking right at you?
Oh yeah, because it was one of those things where like there was all these people in the front. It was just kind of me by myself, like
Yeah.
sort of up the street a bit more, waiting for my friend. He just opened the window. It's like that's as soon as he opened the window because he had like the go-to.
he's pretty
Yeah.
recognizable.
Yeah, so as soon as he opened the window, I'm like, oh, fuck, that's one of the Backstreet Boys.
Poor Kevin looking
And I
for a
don't know why.
lifeline.
I'm not sure why I did it, but I just gave him the finger.
He looked to you for help. Please,
He was kinda-
local man, help.
Yeah, kind of what it was. Hey, you're not a 12-year-old girl. Can you?
Can you help sort out this mess in front of me? And you're like, eh.
And he just
so-
closed the window.
That is so mean. Why would you be like that?
I don't know why. It seemed like a good
don't
idea
know
at the
why.
I'd
time.
love to be on that bus with to find out what he said after. He's like,
Yes.
God damn it. Hamilton, get me out of here. Savages.
That was hilarious. Yeah, then I remember it was like, I was like, oh, I'm going to tell my friend on the way home, like, you're not going to believe what happened.
That is really funny.
I'm like, why would you? I'm guessing they were probably trying to get the bus as fast as they could. They thought maybe they would beat the crowds leaving, but they did not.
No.
Failed.
And this was also before, because I think, I don't know. That's crazy that they were still just on like tour bus. So that was clearly before they had hit that next level where they probably had like.
Well, yeah, but a lot of these, from what I understand, a lot of these bands, like they'll depending on where you're going, right? Like if you're going from Hamilton to Toronto,
Well, they'll take
you're
something,
not
yeah.
bus.
yeah,
Yeah.
you'll take a big bus or something.
Or a lot
like
of
that,
them-
or,
yeah, I
you know,
mean-
unless you're flying like.
And they
True.
still have to
Really
get from
far. True.
the arena to the airport.
Yeah,
True.
yeah, you know, depending if they're going, I don't know how they decide whether they fly or drive or whatever, but yeah, I still remember that was hilarious.
Poor Kevin. He's probably that's probably his
Hi,
Roman
Kevin.
is probably his Roman Empire at night.
That son of a bitch.
He wakes up every night. The man,
I would have
the
freaking
man with the finger.
punched him right in the
Kevin,
face.
if you-
Get off that bus and...
Kevin, if you ever hear this or see this, Steve apologizes to you.
I don't remember saying that. I'm saying sorry.
He would probably laugh about it now, I bet.
Oh, I'm sure.
They got out, because then some police showed up and chased the girl. Like,
Well,
they
yeah.
were, and then they were out of there
Yeah.
pretty quick.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
not going to be hanging
what
around.
am I
not-
going to do? I'm just a guy. What am I going to do?
I'm just one man.
How about a
just a
little
guy.
something for the effort there, Backstreet Boys? Yeah.
But I feel
He's
like
like, I made $35 today.
I feel like we should
I
also
did more than that.
I feel like we should also disclaim the fact, like, I feel bad for this episode because Eric was clearly not a boy band fan. And
No,
Eric-
I mean, like, you can't. Yeah, you couldn't avoid them. They're
no,
everywhere.
but
No,
I'm just
that's-
saying,
they
and
were.
you didn't have a sister, so you
No, I
didn't
didn't.
have the boy band infiltrate your house, so to speak.
No, not really. I mean, like, obviously at school and stuff, like, I knew about the bands and saw, like, the different camps between girls and who they liked.
I'm gonna spill a little Eric tea, and he's gonna get so mad at me.
Oh, this podcast is over.
Eric was
No.
on that tour bus, wasn't he?
No,
He
no.
was with Kevin. Don't listen to
No.
Kevin.
Kevin, that's Steve. He's a bad man.
If
Close the window.
If you were on that tour bus, I'd be jealous. No, but I feel like Eric knows where this is going.
I have no idea where this is going.
I
Okay.
am not
So
sure either.
Eric was a fan of a quote unquote boy band, a Canadian boy band.
Oh,
This is about Backstreet Boys and NSYNC.
Eric was a secret, not so secret fan of the Canadian trio group, the Moffats, which was Canada's Hanson.
They had one song I thought was catchy.
The Girl in My Dreams, was that the song?
No, what the hell's that song?
Or was that
what was
Hanson?
the? I told
Eric knows it.
I forget the Moffats. Mbop.
No. So
Hanson.
for those that don't know, who've never
I
heard of
was
the
going to say
Moffats,
for anyone,
they're the
Oh, it was Bang Bang Boom. That song.
gosh.
I remember it now.
they're the Canadian Moffats,
They were-
basically.
Yeah.
Or
Five?
Hanson.
there were 5 brothers.
They're the
No,
Cana-
three.
Cana-
Only three of them.
Yeah, they're the Canadian Hanson.
Oh, I thought there was more than
No.
3 of them. Oh,
No,
okay.
no, they're the Canadian Hanson.
Yeah.
But they're definitely there were a bunch of brothers that were singers.
Bang Bang Boom.
Yeah, that was the song. I thought it was catchy at the time.
Okay.
It was on one CD. Oh my god, the things you can't live down.
I was gonna say, was it like I don't even know how that it was on like a.
I had like a- I had a mix
CD
CD I
or
made.
something like that.
Because back in the day we had to make mixed CDs. That was on a mixed CD. So
It was.
funny.
Oh, I miss mix CDs.
Bang Bang
Yeah.
Boom.
Shout out to the Moffats.
I mean, a Canadian. I wonder what happened to them. I'm gonna have to do some
I
research
have
on them.
no idea. Yeah.
I do remember going to Hamilton to see them in Walmart.
You saw the Moffats?
I don't know if I saw them, but
At
they were
Walmart.
at the Walmart Plaza.
Oh man.
Look, I was
Shout out to
okay.
Hamilton.
This podcast was like, oh, this is gonna be a nice nostalgic memory lane. Now it's just really kind of embarrassing.
I really
me.
thought we were gonna be laser focused on this podcast on the topic, but
No.
we kind of went off the rails.
I
a
mean,
bit.
I think the great debate of NSYNC or Backstreet Boys. Me personally, I think Backstreet Boys was the more successful band. Like, you know, not counting what people have done solo, like that doesn't count, I don't think. But as a band, I feel like Backstreet Boys, you know, they sold the most records right there.
Well, I think that's the only real way
Right
to
there.
gauge them. Like, because you can't like.
I think
Who was the better
unfortunately,
singers? I don't know.
unfortunately
know.
for NSYNC, they were always just a little bit in their shadow.
Well, and I now it makes it hearing this like, oh, that makes way more sense as to why
Yeah.
the rivalry happened.
and why
yeah.
there was that perception that they were always kind of chasing the Backstreet
Yeah.
Boys or copying them.
Lou
Yeah.
the Puppet Master.
That's right.
I mean, I feel like we need to do a whole. I want to go watch that documentary on Lou Pearlman. I feel like
Yeah.
that would be really interesting. But before we do go, guys, does that even make sense? No.
No.
I have a quiz.
Uh-oh.
Kelly's the quiz master this time.
Hold on, I gotta find my. Okay, here it is. Don't cheat and look at my answers.
All right.
Okay, you really should. You know, because I meant a couple of these things were slightly mentioned. So
Slightly
Well-
mentioned.
Yeah, that
see how much you were paying attention to me. Sorry, the paper's rattling. Okay.
okay.
I'll let you guys both answer, and then I'll tell you who's right or wrong, okay?
Okay.
Who was the oldest Backstreet Boy member? The oldest member of the group?
It was Kevin, right?
I don't know, Eric. Who was it?
I'm gonna say
Real answer, not just say something that you think is funny.
Kevin.
Yes, Kevin was the oldest.
Yeah, because you said something about.
See, you were listening. Awesome. Who was the oldest?
I just copied Steve's answer.
You're going to answer first. Who is the oldest NSYNC member?
Ooh, the oldest NSYNC member? Mm-hmm. I think it was Chris Kirkpatrick.
Steve.
I'm blanking on their names. I'll say
Lance, Justin, JC.
I'll say
Joey. We forgot about Joey.
Nah, is it JC?
No, it was Chris Kirkpatrick.
Oh, man. 2 for 2.
So those were kind of easy, but...
Is that the whole quiz?
No, I have 2 more.
Oh.
How many... Okay, listen to the question carefully. How many number 1 of the Billboard, number 1, on the Billboard top hits did Backstreet Boys have over their career? So how many number 1s on Billboard did the Backstreet Boys have over the span of their career?
Number 1 songs?
Yeah.
Can you give me multiple choice?
No, I don't need the names of the songs. I just want the number.
Yeah, I'll pick a number out of the sky. I'm going to say 3.
Steve?
5.
Oddly enough, the Backstreet Boys have never reached a number 1 single in their career. Their highest position was number 2.
Not even Backstreet's Back?
No.
All right.
No. How many number 1 hits did NSYNC have, Steve?
2.
Eric?
That was my answer. You stole my answer. I was going to say 2. I'm gonna go 2.
They only had 1.
I mean 1. 1 was my answer.
It's gonna be May.
Oh,
the only
see,
one,
that's why NSYNC wins the battle right there. They have a meme.
They do have
every
a
year.
meme.
They have a meme.
That's
They have a
true.
meme.
Yeah,
It's gonna be May.
Look, I mean, you can't deny the fact that when Backstreet's Back comes on, like, you just have to get down with that song.
I still think one of the
All right. I said it like 8 times in this podcast.
Yeah.
the end of This Is the End, when
Yeah.
Seth
Oh,
Rogen
yeah.
and Jay Baruchel in heaven, and they bring back the back. That's a great ending to a movie. That song is catchy as hell. I will say that.
Oh, for sure.
To sum up this podcast,
Was no more questions?
no, that's it.
Oh.
To sum up this podcast on how much of a nerdy dork I was being a BSB fan, Eric reminded me.
Oh, yeah.
my-
Speaking of embarrassing stories
That's
from
right.
back in the day.
Yes,
So remember, like, we were the generation where we were like teenagers or early teens when the whole like email internet phase kicked
Yeah.
that crazy thing back then.
Yeah,
that we didn't-
email was new when we were in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was new. And my first Hotmail address was Backstreet Boy related.
It was. You put your love of Backstreet Boys into your email address.
And I mean, Eric, I'm not going to lie, random times throughout the history of knowing him, he has made fun of me for that.
Rightfully so.
I'm not going to apologize.
Although I've always remembered they've seen jokes about that. Like, if we were all forced to stick with our first ever email addresses.
What about your guys'? Don't say them because the poor person's going to get spammed. But like, your guys' weren't so great either.
Mine was, I thought mine was pretty funny, but
Yeah.
Mine was mildly inappropriate. Like, it was always embarrassing when I have to like apply for like a real thing, like a credit card. They'd be like, "What's your email address?" It's this at hotmail.com.
Back before
you
you had
can make
multiple.
a second email address, right? No,
I'm sticking with
I
this.
mean, Steve's had
I'm in it to win it.
Steve's had the number 69 in it. Eric had things that you could sit on and hurt yourself. Like, it was just a mess. It was just a mess. The
wild days of the internet.
Oh boy.
But hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast. I know it was a lot of like factual, historical
that was a
stuff.
lot of fun. It's fun to talk about this stuff. It
is.
Definitely a lot of stuff that I'd never heard before, so I wouldn't want to watch this documentary.
I know we should go do that. But you guys comment on this video or this podcast, however you're watching it, and let us know who your choice is.
Yes.
NSYNC or Backstreet Boys. Are you team Backstreet Boys like the cool kids? Or are you team NSYNC like the followers?
Or throw us a curveball and go 90 degrees.
Well, I mean,
O-Town fan.
Liquid dreams for life.
it's so creepy.
I still suffer from them.
Anywho, with that being said, we thank you guys so much for listening and watching. We really appreciate you. And until next time, guys, bye.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you in the next one.